Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, July 25th. It's time for our Bible study. We are in the book of Exodus. Last week we went through Exodus 1 and Exodus 2, where we were given the information that 70 of Jacob's descendants were in Egypt at the point where the Pharaoh that knew all that Joseph had done for Egypt was no longer living, and all of Joseph and all his brothers were gone. They were dead. Um, but the nation of Israel was growing rapidly, as God had promised to make them into a great nation. So they were growing, and this new Pharaoh feared that the strength of the Israelites would be a problem if something were to happen and they were to go to war, and then the Israelites would turn against them. So they made the Israelites slaves. They also, Pharaoh, the new Pharaoh, also wanted to get rid of all the boy babies that were being born to the nation of Israel. So he wanted the midwives to kill the boys and let the girls live when they were being born. And since the midwives didn't do that, then he ordered that all the Israelite baby boys be thrown into the Nile River. But Moses' mother and father saw that he was a special baby. Special in the sense that God had something on his life, that they protected him. They kept him for 3 months. And then after that, they put him in a leak proof basket and put him in the Nile River. The Nile River, while in the Nile River, the daughter of Pharaoh found the baby. The baby's sister was keeping an eye on the baby. And so the Pharaoh's daughter had the sister go and get one of the Israelite women to nurse the baby for her, and she would pay him. She would pay her. So of course the baby sister, the big sister went and got the mother, her mother, the baby's mother, and the baby's mother nursed her and nursed him and got paid for it. And then at the point it was time to wean him, she brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter. So he grew up, Moses grew up in uh, the palace with Pharaoh and his daughter. I said last week Pharaoh was his granddaddy, and his daughter was his mother. So this Egyptian baby now is being raised. This Israelite baby is now being raised. This Hebrew baby is now being raised by an Egyptian mother and an Egyptian grandfather. In my reading, I saw that he was in that palace 40 years before he broke reigns with them. And then, of course, he went to his people. He wanted to be around his people. He protected one of the Israelite men and killed one of the Egyptians. And then he came back the next day, and two Israelite men were fighting, and the one who caused the fight said, "Who told you were going to be our prince? Are you going to kill me like you killed that Egyptian yesterday?" And of course, that brought fear to Moses, and so Moses goes on the run and ends up in Midian. He's in Midian. He helps the 7 daughters of the Midian priest and ends up going to live in his home and was given one of the daughters as his wife. We get to, and his job while in Midian is a shepherd. He's a shepherd. I don't know if you remember, but when we were studying Joseph's story, remember that the Egyptians didn't want anything to do with shepherds. That's why the Israelites were able to go to Goshen away from the Egyptians so they wouldn't be around these shepherds. And so the thing that he was taught in the palace as an Egyptian was to hate shepherds. And now he is a shepherd. He has been humbled. He has been brought down from being a prince in the palace to being a shepherd. And so now we're on chapter 3. We're in chapter 3. Chapter 3, I'm going to start with chapter reading. Let's see. Chapter 3. Chapter 3, verse 1 says, One day Moses was tending the flock as a shepherd. One day Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led the flock far into the wilderness and came to Sinai, the mountain of God, Mount Sinai. We hear a lot about Mount Sinai in Scripture. 2, there was an angel there. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of the bush. Moses stared in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. This is amazing, Moses said to himself. Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it. When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called to him from the middle of the bush, Moses, Moses. Here I am, Moses replied. Do not come any closer, the Lord warned. Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. 6, I am the Lord. I'm going to learn to read one day. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Why would God say, I am the father, I am the God of your father? Abraham wasn't his father, but Abraham is all of our fathers, all of us who believe. And Abraham is Moses' father because, biologically, he is a descendant of Abraham, a descendant of Isaac, a descendant of Jacob. Moses is. When Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God, and he should have been. Then the Lord told him, I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries of distress, and because of their harsh slave drivers, yes, I am aware of their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile and spacious land. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. I'm gonna read the start of the 8 again. This is God speaking. He says, So I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile, spacious land. Who's doing that? God. God is the one who has come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptian and lead them in out of Egypt into their own fertile ground, which was the promised land that he promised to Abraham, and then to Isaac, and then to Jacob. 9 says, "Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abused them." God was not just now aware of the harsh treatment of the Israelite people. He knew it. He knew what was going on with them all the time. Remember, God is everywhere, all the time, for everybody. So it wasn't like he was just made aware of what was going on with him, but he knew now was the time to move. 10, because of his plan. Because of his plan. 10, now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people, Israel, out of Egypt. So he's talking to Moses. He says to Moses, now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people, Israel, out of Egypt. But what did he just say up here? He says, I am coming down to lead my people out of Egypt and to bring them into their own spacious land. How's he going to do it? Through Moses. Through Moses. He would use Moses to do that. 11. But Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? This is Moses, who grew up as an Egyptian, who felt, I don't know if I should use superior, but he felt like he had the right to save the Egyptians when he was in that land, when he killed when he was there to save the Israelite nation from the Egyptian, when he killed that Egyptian, and then he had to run, but he felt more empowered then. And now that he's been humbled and he's a shepherd in a foreign land of Midian, he's like, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? 12, God answered, I will be with you. And this is a sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. That's the sign. What kind of sign is that? After we done went through all this stuff, you're going to worship me here at this mountain. Okay, that's the sign. But what does he promise? I will be with you. So God said, I am going to come down and save my people from the Egyptians and bring them into the fertile land that I've promised them. Then he tells Moses to go. But what does he say? I will be with you. He's not sending Moses to do something that he's not going to equip Moses to do. And furthermore, he is with Moses. So, what more does he need? Let us not think this is just for Moses. When God sends us or chooses us to do something, he equips us to do it. And he's with us. He is with us. He is with us throughout the journey. 13. But Moses protested, if I go to the people of Israel and tell them the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? Then what should I tell them? God replied to Moses, I am who I am. I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. I am who I am. I am everything you need me to be. Whatever it is you need, I am that. I am has sent Moses to the people of Israel. 15. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel: Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. These people are very familiar with the promises that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had from God. And though they've been in slavery, and I'm sure it don't feel like the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are going to inherit what God had given Abraham, but God didn't change his mind. He said that's what he was going to do, so that's what he's going to do, even after they spent all this time in slavery. And it goes on. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. That's Yahweh. Yahweh. Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Yahweh. 16. Now go and call together all the elders of Israel. Tell them, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has appeared to me. He told me, I have been watching closely, and I see how the Egyptians are treating you. He keeps reminding them that he's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And they know what that means. He's also their God as well. 17. I have promised to rescue you from your oppression in Egypt. I will lead you to a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. The elders of Israel will accept your message because God's not only working on Moses, right? He's also working on the people of Israel. He's preparing them for Moses' appearance. Um, I gotta start 18 over. The elders of Israel will accept your message. Then you and the elders must go to the king of Egypt and tell him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. So please let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know, this is God speaking, but I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand forces him. God's all right with that. So I will raise my hand and strike the Egyptians, performing all kinds of miracles among them. Then, at last, he will let you go. And I will cause the Egyptians to look favorably on you. They will give you gifts when you go. So you will not leave empty handed. Not only is he going to free them, but they're going to leave out of that land with wealth. 22. Every Israelite woman will ask for articles of silver and gold and fine clothing from her Egyptian neighbors and from the foreign women in their houses. You will dress your sons and daughters with these, stripping the Egyptians of their wealth, stripping them of their wealth. And only God can do that. Stripping them of their wealth. Okay, so that was 3. We're going to go to 4. 4. But Moses protested again. That proves that God, I don't know where it came from, but I know as a child and as a young adult, I was taught you don't question God. But all through scripture, the people that God chose questioned him. And he answered them. He didn't get mad and send fire down and kill them. He just answered them. He dealt with whatever their problems were and whatever he was telling them to do. Here we go. But Moses protested again. What if? What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say, the Lord never appeared to you? Then the Lord asked him, what is that in your hand? A shepherd's staff, Moses replied. Throw it on the ground. Throw it down on the ground, the Lord told him. So Moses threw down the staff, and it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back. Then the Lord told him, reach out and grab its tail. Reach out and grab the snake's tail. That leaves his mouth available to reach back and bite him, right? That would have been hard to do. But God said, then the Lord told him, reach out, grab its tail. So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and it turned back into a shepherd's staff in his hand. I'm telling you the truth. That one would have been kind of hard. I'm like, Lord, can I grab his head? 5. Perform this sign, the Lord told him. Then they will believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob really has appeared to you. Before I go any further, let's look at the fact that what God says to Moses. Let's hold on. Then the Lord, after Moses protested again, then the Lord asked him, what's that in your hand? A shepherd's staff, Moses replied. That shepherd's staff was used in the work he was doing every day as a shepherd, right? It wasn't anything special. God made it special, but the shepherd's staff in itself was not special. But he used what Moses already had in his hand. I'm gonna try to get this right. I used to wonder how God would use me in His kingdom. How's He going to use me? What is my gift? What am I supposed to do? And so, a long while ago, I asked one of the elders at my church. I'm like, how am I going to know what I'm supposed to do? And she looked at me and she said, "You're already doing it. You're already doing it. What are you already doing?" I was already teaching. I was just teaching Sunday school, right? She says, you're already doing it. Whatever he has for you to do is something you're already doing. That's the case for all of us. He don't call, um, let's say, a singer, because that's the easy one to do. He doesn't call a singer and make him a shepherd. He calls a singer and use that singer who used to sing here, now sings in the kingdom of God. That same voice that singer used for other um, music is now going to be used in the kingdom. If you are whatever it is that gift, that thing that you do naturally, you don't even have to work at it. You do it and you do it well. You do it without even thinking about it. That is the same thing you're going to do in the kingdom of God. Now, how and when and where, he'll lead you into it. But it's not like he's gonna take you, put you in the kingdom, and have you doing something completely opposite of who you have been your entire life. Moses was in the palace. He was in leadership in the palace, and now he's in leadership in the kingdom to set the people of Israel free from Egypt. But he's going to God is using what Moses already is, even though he's feeling not really prepared, but he is. He is. Why? Because God said, I will be with you. That's why. So then he says, um, oh, I lost my spot. Then 4 says, then the Lord told him, reach out. Oh, well, I already did that. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me find my spot. Oh, here it is. 6. Then the Lord said to Moses, now put your hand inside your cloak. Put your hand inside your cloak. So Moses put his hand inside his cloak. And when he took his hand out again, his hand was white as snow with a severe skin disease. 7. Now put your hand back in your cloak, the Lord said. So Moses put his hand back in, and when it came back out again, it was healthy as the rest of his body. God just showing him what kind of power he has. Not Moses. Moses don't have no real power. God has the power to do whatever he needs to do to help Moses do whatever he has assigned Moses to do. 8. The Lord said to Moses, if they don't believe you and are not convinced by this first miraculous sign, they will be convinced by the second sign. And if they don't believe you or listen to you even after the 2 signs, then take some water from the Nile River and pour it out on dry ground. When you do, the water from the Nile will turn to blood on the ground. But Moses pleaded with the Lord, oh Lord, I am not very good with words. I never have been, and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled. Then the Lord asked Moses, who makes your person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak, hear or do not hear, see or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? I don't need to know how you get tongue tied and don't speak well. I already know. I already knew that when I chose you, Moses. I already knew that when I chose you. But who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether they speak or don't speak, hear or don't hear, see or don't see? Is it not I, the Lord? I love it. um, 12. Now go. I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you what to say. Not only am I going to be with you, I will, I will, uh, I will be with you when you speak, and I will instruct you what to say. You're not going on your own power, Moses. But Moses again pleaded, Lord, please send anyone else. Send anyone else other than me. Then the Lord became angry with Moses. All right, he said, what about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he speaks well. And look, he's on his way to meet you now. He will be delighted to see you. Of course, he was on his way to see Moses because God already had that part of the plan taken care of. He knew Moses. He knew Moses' fear of speaking, and he knew Aaron, his brother, spoke well. So he already had Aaron en route to meet Moses while this whole conversation with him and God is going on. God's taking care of all of it. 15, talk to him and put the words in his mouth. I will be with you. No, I will be with both of you as you speak, and I will instruct you both in what to do. Aaron will be your spokesman to the people and will be your mouthpiece. And you, Moses, will stand in the place of God for him, telling him what to say. I love it. And take your shepherd's staff with you and use it to perform the miraculous sign I've shown you. 18. So Moses went back home to Jethro, his father-in-law. Please let me return to my relatives in Egypt. Moses said, I don't even know if they are still alive. Go in peace, Jethro replied. Before Moses left Midian, the Lord said to him, return to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you have died. So that means this is a new Pharaoh, because that Pharaoh wanted to kill him. And the Egyptians that wanted to kill him are now dead. So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and headed back to the land of Egypt. In his hand, he carried the staff of God. Look what he said. In his hand, he didn't say in his hand he carried his staff. He said in his hand he carried the staff of God. I love it. It's amazing to be. Moses was, he was at the top of the whole nation as an Egyptian. He was a prince in the palace with Pharaoh and his daughter, and now he's been humbled down to a place where he knows for sure. He knows for sure that he has to count on God to do what he's just been told to do. He know he can't do it by himself. He calls that staff the staff of God, not my staff. 21. And the Lord told Moses, when you arrive back in Egypt, go to Pharaoh and perform all the miracles I've empowered you to do. But I will harden his heart so he will refuse to let the people go. I will harden his heart so he will refuse to let the people go. 22. Then you will tell him, this is what the Lord says, Israel is my firstborn son. He calls Israel his firstborn son. That was the first nation that he chose. We know that after choosing them, he said all the nations of the world will be blessed through this one. But that nation, Israel, was the firstborn. They were the first chosen nation. 23 says, I commanded you, let my son go so he can worship me. That's the nation of Israel. But since you have refused, I will now kill your firstborn son. This is the first time I noticed this, and this time around studying this is the first time I noticed that he said in advance that he was going to kill the Egyptian's firstborn son. All this time I thought, he used one thing, harden his heart, another thing, harden his heart, all the way through, right? And then finally, the worst thing he had to do was to kill their son. But he already said he was going to do it in the very beginning. Because you won't let my son go, then I will now kill your firstborn son. And he does. We'll see that coming. On the way to Egypt, at a place where Moses and his family had stopped for the night, the Lord confronted him and was about to kill him being Moses. But Moses' wife, Zipporah, took a flint knife and circumcised her son. She touched his feet with the foreskin and said, now you are bridegroom of blood to me. She had to circumcise. The rule, all the way back to Abraham, was on the 8th day, a baby born a boy was to be circumcised. And though Moses grew up in the palace with the Egyptians, his mother, he was circumcised because his mother circumcised him because she kept him 3 months. But Moses lost that for his children, for his 2 sons. So his sons were not circumcised, but his wife, ain't nothing like a good wife. His wife took the knife and circumcised her son and made everything okay by remembering, even though she was not an Israelite, she knew what needed to be done to save Moses. Moses was the one who was in trouble, but she circumcised her baby, and because of that, God left him alone. 26. When he said when she said a bridegroom of blood, she was referring to the circumcision. After that, the Lord left him alone. Now the Lord has said, I'm having trouble with my mouth, y'all. My mouse, y'all. Now the Lord has said to Aaron, go out into the wilderness to meet Moses. Remember? So Aaron went to meet Moses at the mountain of God, and he embraced him. Oh, he was sending Moses. He was sending Aaron all alone to meet Moses. 28. Moses then told Aaron everything the Lord had commanded him to say. And he told him about the miraculous signs the Lord commanded him to perform. Then Moses and Aaron returned to Egypt and called all the elders of Israel together. Aaron told them everything the Lord had told Moses. Aaron told them, the elders, everything that Lord had told Moses, and Moses performed the miraculous signs as they watched. Then the people of Israel were convinced that the Lord had sent Moses and Aaron. When they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshiped. They bowed down and worshiped. Uh, 5. Let's see how long 5 is. I think I'm gonna leave 5 for next week. Well, no, I'm gonna make 5 real quick. After this presentation of Israel, this is 5:1. After this presentation to Israel's leaders, Moses and Aaron went and spoke to Pharaoh. They told him, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says: Let my people go, so they may hold a festival in my honor in the wilderness." Is that so? Retorted Pharaoh. He's already arrogant. He's arrogant already. It's not like God took a humble person and hardened their heart. Pharaoh already had this, what he thought was his power. He thought he was powerful. He thought, who is the Lord? Who is the Lord? Is that so? He was arrogant. Okay, 2. Is that so? Retorted Pharaoh. And who is the Lord? Why should I listen to him and let Israel go? I don't know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go. But Aaron and Moses persisted. The God of the Hebrews has met with us, they declared. So let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness so we can offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. If we don't, he will kill us with a plague or with the sword. Pharaoh replied, Moses and Aaron, why are you distracting the people from their task? Get back to work. Look, there are many of your people in the land, and you are stopping them from their work. 6. The same day, Pharaoh sent this order to the Egyptians, slave drivers, and the Israelite foremen. Do not supply any more straw for making bricks. Make the people get it themselves, but still require them to make the same number of bricks as before. Do not reduce the quota. They are lazy. That's why they are crying out, let us go and offer sacrifices to our God. They lazy. They slaves doing all the work, but they lazy. Okay, Pharaoh. 9. Load them down with more work. Make them sweat. That will teach them to listen to lies. So the slave drivers and farmers went out and told the people, this is what Pharaoh says: I will not provide any more straw for you. Go and get it for yourselves. Find it wherever you can. But you must produce just as many bricks as before. So the people scattered throughout the land of Egypt in search for stubble to use as straw. Meanwhile, 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 the Egyptian slave drivers continued to push hard. Meet your daily quota of bricks, just as you did when we provided you with straw, they demanded. Then they whipped the Israelites, foremen they had put in charge of the work crews. Why haven't you met your quotas either yesterday or today? They demanded. So the Israelite foremen went to Pharaoh and pleaded with him, please don't treat don't treat your servants like this, they begged. We are given no straw, but the slave drivers still demand make bricks. We are being beaten, but it isn't our fault. Your own people are to blame. But Pharaoh shouted, you're just lazy, lazy. That's why you're saying, let us go and offer sacrifices to the Lord. Now, get back to work. No straw will be given to you, but you must still produce the full quota of bricks. The Israelite foreman could see that they were in serious trouble when they were told, you must not reduce the number of bricks you make each day. As they left Pharaoh's court, ooh, As they left Pharaoh's court, they confronted Moses and Aaron, who were waiting outside. The foreman said to them, may the Lord judge and punish you for making us stink before Pharaoh and his officials. You have put a sword into their hands to an excuse to kill us. Then Moses went back to the Lord and protested. Why have you brought all this trouble on your own people, Lord? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh as your spokesperson, he's been even more brutal to your people, and you have done nothing to rescue them. Look, just that fast. Just that fast. A minute ago, they believed that God had sent Moses and Aaron, and they bowed down and worshipped. Now the slave drivers are treating them harshly. Pharaoh won't help them in getting straw so they can make brick. They are being treated very harshly, very harshly. And just like that, they turn on Moses and Aaron. But it's not Moses and Aaron. Moses and Aaron are doing what God has told them to do. They're really upset with God. And then Moses goes in the same direction. He's like, he went to the Lord and protested, why have you brought all this trouble on your people, Lord? Why did you send me? Ever since I went to Pharaoh as your spokesperson, he has even been more brutal to your people, and you haven't done nothing to rescue them. I wonder how God would. Uh, okay, God is not like us. Um, Isaiah 55, I think it is, says, God's thoughts are not our thoughts, and his ways are not our ways. His thoughts and his ways are far greater than we can even imagine. God has a plan. And unfortunately, in his plan, at this moment in the plan, these people are suffering. But there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. And I think as we go forward, we'll see that that reason was that not only to show Pharaoh who God is, who he is, but to show the people of Israel who he is. If he had just opened the gate and let them go free without any kind of trauma, who do you think they would have given credit for letting them go? Pharaoh, Moses, Aaron. When they are let out of Egypt, they will have no doubt that it was the Lord their God, the God of their father Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. They will have no doubt because these people too Pharaoh don't know. Pharaoh said it. Who is the Lord? I don't know this Lord. The people of Israel didn't say it, but in a sense, they don't either. They don't know who he is either. And God is allowing them to go through all this trauma so they can know for sure who he is by the time they walk out of Egypt into the wilderness. And that's it for tonight. Now, God, this is I still haven't figured out what's wrong with my restream, so I am going to be releasing these individually on the platforms, and I am going to start right now. So I stopped a little early, but God is in control. And even when he allows his people to suffer, there's reason in it. There's reason in it. We need to know who he is. And if life is easy, it is a shame, but we don't learn anything. We think we in control when life is easy. We think all, life, everything, and we just don't learn anything. But when things go bad, when we are going through hard times and we call on the name of the Lord and he shows us who he is, then we learn. Then we learn. So that's where we are with the people of Israel. I will end for now, and I will see you tomorrow for Good News at Noon, Wednesday the 26th. Bye.